Hey, everybody. It's Sunday, November 24th, 2024. Try saying that 3 times fast. Welcome to another edition of Montreal Hockey Talk. On this week's episode, we'll talk about the good and the bad of this week. The Canadiens were 500. They did some stuff extremely well, and then they absolutely shit the bed on Saturday night. Then we'll talk about some comments in and around social media and look at what the Canadiens do extremely well to be able to get their defense to be very, very solid. And we'll look forward to next week when the Canadiens have 3 games coming up before December kicks in. It's time for Montreal Hockey Talk. Hey, everybody. Kosta here again with Montreal Hockey Talk. And before we even get started, as always, please look below, like, subscribe, and definitely hit the notification bell so you get all the latest and greatest. I'm trying to move up the timeline for some new features coming up in the not too distant future. But of course, being a one-man team, it takes a little bit longer than expected. And of course, last week, we announced that we moved everything over to BlueSky. So that's bsky.app for those of you who are going through a web browser, or you can download the BlueSky app on your phone or iPad or whatever you prefer to use. It's a great alternative to Twitter. It's really catching on quickly. I mean, millions of people are already on it, including some of your favorite writers and beat writers from the Montreal Canadiens. So get on board, because that's where we're all going to get away from the evil empire. And you know who I'm talking about when I say the evil empire. Now, one other thing that I want to get to before we get started with the crux of the show is I wanted to give a shout out to Mind Pump Media. Now, Mind Pump is a podcast that I've been listening to for over a year. And, I had a heart attack in 2020. And the toughest thing that I found is being able to get back into shape. I've done a pretty good job of it. These guys put me over the top. Sal, Adam, and Justin are absolutely incredible. And credit to Doug for all the production stuff that he does in the back end as well. But by and large, these 3 guys are the best podcast when it comes to fitness. They're funny. It's kind of like it draws me back to the days when Montreal Hockey Talk was in its infancy. And it was JD, Corey, myself, Jesse, and Eric doing the shows. And, it was 5 guys talking about shit. And that's what these guys do. Not only do they do that, but they also take live callers, and they also, they take questions, and there's always giveaways. So it's worth a listen. If you're into fitness, or if you're thinking about getting into fitness, and God knows what the new year everybody is, tune into Mind Pump. You can find them anywhere, wherever you find your podcast, including on YouTube. It's a must, guys. If you are looking to get back into shape, especially when you're 50 plus like me, do it. It's not hard. Their programs are easy to follow. And the guys are always there for support every step of the way. So please, mindpumpmedia.com. Check it out. It's going to save you. Now, it's been a tough week for the Montreal Canadiens. The Habs, just a couple of games, ended up 1-1 on the week. Started it great against the Edmonton Oilers. Really stifled the Oilers' offense. A 3-0 victory against the Oilers. Samuel Montembeault getting his second shutout of the season. It was the Canadiens' second win in a row, and everything seemed to be falling into place for the Canadiens to have success. The players were not making any errors on the ice. The flow was great. They were playing well in their own zone. They were easily able to get the puck out of the zone and transition into offense. All the things that we talk about here on Montreal Hockey Talk. But then we went to Saturday. Canadiens had a whole week to be able to work on stuff, to look at video, to be able to get better. And it seemed like it went ass backwards for them. They completely forgot everything that they had done well going into the game on Saturday against the Vegas Golden Knights. And the Golden Knights made them pay for it. And it wasn't so much that you could say that, they were overcoached during the week and they were confused, because that's what everybody's talking about. There's a lot of this crap going around, and Marty St. Louis is putting too much intelligence into these guys' brains, and they're not able to play anymore. There was an interview that Peter Mansbridge has done with Wayne Gretzky. I forget how long ago it was, but it's worth checking out, where Wayne talks about today's player and the over activity as far as hockey's concerned, or one sport discipline. So it doesn't matter if it's hockey, baseball, football, you name it. They're 12 months a year sports now. The season's over. You don't get a break. Back in the day when I played, hockey season finished. We were getting ready to play baseball. And, baseball was finishing up. We were getting ready to play a little bit of football. Or if baseball wasn't your thing, you were playing soccer. Whatever the case was. But you had different disciplines. You weren't stuck to one sport, even if you were an elite level player. I had a buddy of mine by the name of Dino Trakakis who was an elite level goaltender. He never played hockey in the summer. Maybe a couple of games of ball hockey here and there with us just to shoot the shit and pass the time. But he was never 24/7. He played baseball, played hockey, played a little bit of football, could throw football a country mile. He was a raw athlete. So there wasn't any sport that he couldn't play. And so he decided to delve into all of them. Played a little bit of this, played a little bit of that. Never stuck to hockey only. And, people turn around and say, you know what, Dino could have gone far if he hadn't hurt his back. Well, hurting his back came from playing hockey. It didn't come from any other sport. Let's call it what it is. But at the end of the day, he was a multi-sport player. And being able to be multi-sport players allows your brain to develop in a different way. Where, we talk about hand-eye coordination. That doesn't come from playing hockey. Hand-eye coordination comes from, trying to hit a baseball, trying to bunt, whatever the case is. Strength in your shoulders comes from throwing a ball, not from taking slap shot after slap shot after slap shot, because they're both not natural motions. There are a lot of things that cross over into different sports and give you strength. Okay. And that's what Wayne Gretzky was talking about. And he said it himself, yes, he spent time on the pond, and I'll get to that in a minute. But he also spent time in the summer playing baseball or playing a little bit of soccer or putzing around with his brothers and, getting dirty in the mud and just going out and being a kid, which a lot of us don't let our kids do anymore because we're thinking of the big paycheck that may or may not come later down the road. And then, of course, he talked about what I just said, and that's being on the pond. And, a lot of you out there, and, I'm guilty of this too, so don't get me wrong. We had an inherent fear of letting our kids go out there and play on ice because I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I wore a toque on my head, not a helmet. I didn't give a rat's ass if I fell down. I would get back up again. It didn't dawn on me that, hey, I might hurt my head on the ice. It wasn't an option. It wasn't something that you thought about. You went onto the ice to go play and have fun, right? You used to go out there and watch guys on the pond or watch guys at the local rink, outdoor rink. Everybody would throw their sticks in the middle. Sticks would get thrown on either side, and you'd have 20 guys on the ice, or 25 or 30 guys on the ice playing on two teams. No goalie. The net was turned down so that you wouldn't shoot high, and the puck wasn't allowed to come up off the ice. And you would have to be creative, making passes, making plays, finding open ice when there was none because there's way too many people out there. Now, that doesn't exist anymore. How do you want guys to learn that? Especially in a game that's as quick and as fast as the game we have today in the NHL. They're not. Right? There's 10 guys on the ice. Ooh, big whoop. You're doing drills. It's 3-on-2. Full ice is 5-on-5. It's never extra. You ever try playing 15 against 15? Finding ice? Almost impossible. But we still managed to do it. We still scored goals. We still managed to be able to pass the puck. Sure, there were turnovers, but we learned along the way, not because somebody told us, because we adapted to what was given to us. And so it was a huge part of the learning process when I was a kid, because God knows the coaching when I played was sucked. It was nowhere near as advanced as it is right now. So we learned on our own. There were, Saturday mornings, we'd go out to the rink at 8 o'clock. We'd come home at 6. Wouldn't even eat lunch. We would actually go into the little chalet. We'd warm up a little bit, have a hot chocolate, bang, we're back up on the ice. Nobody needed to eat. And nobody left because we were having too much fun. And that's the part of the game that's missing, the fun. And Wayne made it abundantly clear. And that's what's happening to today's player. That's why you see what's going on right now. Players making mistakes. Players trying to do too much with nothing. And there has to be a limit to what you expect from a player. There are things that they are taught early on, and there are things that they are taught later that mesh together to make them a complete player. And, I'm going to get into it in a minute as far as the player's responsibility is concerned, but it's not all about coaching. And getting back to where we started off with the week off that the Canadiens had, sure, they took one day off on Tuesday. And, some of the guys ended up going on an optional. Patrick Laine on the ice, looking great, not quite ready yet. Don't jump the gun. You're not going to see him before at least the next couple of weeks. Okay? If you watch the video very carefully, Patrick Laine is still favoring his left leg. It's a strain. There's going to be times where it feels good. There's going to be times where it doesn't. He needs to be 100% sure that his knee's not going to give out on him. So wait a couple of more weeks. Give him a chance to really get strong. And he'll be out there on the ice sooner rather than later. But getting back to it, the players had that one day off, and then they were back on the ice on Wednesday. And it's not just ice. They were on the ice working on, video, looking at different things, and trying to augment their game. And they come out on Saturday and look like garbage, to be very honest. Okay, I can't even begin to tell you what's wrong with Juraj Slafkovsky. Originally, I thought maybe because earlier in the year he had a little bit of a period where he was hurt and he took a practice off for therapy day and whatever. And he looks off balance. He doesn't look right. Nowhere near the player that we saw at the end of last year. So something's up. And whether the Canadiens want to divulge that or not is up to them. But there should be a little bit of clarity because he doesn't look like himself. So give the fans and give us a little bit of an explanation so we understand where he is. And don't put expectations on him. Don't drop him to the fourth line and leave him there. Okay? That's too far for somebody like him. He's capable of doing so much more. And the minute you put a player like that on the fourth line, to him, it's more of a punishment than it is giving him a chance to get better. So some third line duty maybe. That might be the answer. Put him next to Dvorak and maybe with Armia and see how that goes to bring his game back up. But don't send him as far down as the fourth line. That's not fair. Okay? Guys that were playing very well last week did not play well on Saturday. Jake Evans, guilty of that defensively, absolutely played like garbage on Saturday. Arbor Xhekaj, back to his old mistakes. David Savard was absolutely putrid on Saturday. His defensive coverage was garbage. And then, you've got players like Kirby Dach and others, and Newhook being another one, who are giving up pucks in the slot. And what do you want Sam Montembeault to do? I was on BlueSky on Saturday, and I said, you know what? Start Primo in the third period because the Canadiens aren't playing well right now. And it would be unfair after what he did in the last two games to put him back in the net for the third period in a game where they're playing like absolute trash. Okay, he allowed 5 goals in 2 periods. None of them were his fault. It was bad defensive coverage all around by the Canadiens. So they put Primo in there. He allowed 1 goal in the third period. Didn't look too bad. Didn't look great, but he needed a little bit of work anyway because he had been pulled in his last start too. And it seems to me, and I think Rick Springhetti agreed with me as well, that he plays much better when there's no pressure and he's not inside his own head. So put him in the third period. He's got absolutely nothing to lose. They're already behind by so many goals. Throw him in there, see how he does. And he did relatively well. So it's a plus for the Canadiens. But the rest of that game, giveaways galore. No control of the neutral zone, which is what I'm going to get to later as far as the Canadiens were concerned. And there was no flow to their hockey game. And whether you can attribute that to the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights had pressure on the puck all night long, or whether it was the Canadiens being out of position, by and large, they played absolutely putrid hockey on Saturday. So I'm going to take that as, you know what? It's a week off. They forgot a lot of what they were supposed to be doing. Let's put it aside. Let them regroup, and let's see what they give us on Tuesday night. Now, that being said, if they come up Tuesday and they look like garbage against Utah, then you start to grip that stick a little bit harder and you say to yourself, oh my God, what's going on with this team? But, before you do that, the players need to be accountable for their stupidity on the ice. Whether it's Xhekaj, whether it's Struble, whether it's Lane Hutson being too aggressive at the defensive blue line, whether it's David Savard or even Mike Matheson, absolutely, I don't get it anymore. It's like you have so much ability and so much skill. Stop giving the puck up. Stop being so stupid with the puck. Be smart. Stop thinking that the Canadiens coaching staff is the problem. It's not. The players are the issue right now. Everybody talks about overcoaching, okay? And it's not overcoaching. Marty St. Louis has given his team a specific way he wants them to play. It doesn't mean that from today to tomorrow they're going to be the team that he wants. There's going to be pains along the way. He wants to get from point A to point B so that he can move on to C later on. But it seems like they've digressed a little bit. Why? Well, you've got guys like Kirby Dach coming back from injury. You've got guys that are hurting right now, Yuri Slafkovsky, who are thinking more about their injuries than they are about their style of play. I mean, when Brendan Gallagher is your best player over the last 2 weeks, there's something to be said. Okay? Even Cole Caulfield has kind of dialed it back a little bit. Nick Suzuki, he's trying, but the puck's just not bouncing his way. But there are players out there that continuously make the same mistakes. I'm going to start with Christian Dvorak, number one. Defensively, he's absolutely garbage. Okay? I forget if it was the second or third goal where two of the Montreal Canadiens players slid across to try to block a shot. And instead of staying net front, he decided to slide to the other side when the puck went around. So they left an entire gap open in front of the net. Put himself well out of position. On another goal, Jake Evans was on the back check, and he allowed Tanner Pearson to skate right by him into the slot for a goal. And again, like I said, Evans let him skate by. Evans should have recognized that the mid-ice lane, being the centerman, that the mid-ice lane was empty and that it was his responsibility to get in there and make sure he was defending it. Didn't happen. But let's blame everybody else. Gary Galley did it twice. Let's blame everybody else on the ice. Let's blame Arbor Jack guy. Let's blame Mike Matheson. Let's blame always the defenseman. Well, you can't lay the blame on the defenseman 24/7. Do they make mistakes? Sure. Jack guy's been making a lot of mistakes. But again, he's a young player who's still learning. He's 2.5 seasons into his NHL career. And the defensemen take a little bit longer to develop because there's so many different situations that they get put in. So leave him alone for now. Even I'm going to leave him alone. Is he going to make mistakes? Sure. He made a couple of them the other night. But you got to live with them. And we say that all the time. Struvel's made mistakes. But it's the veterans you don't expect mistakes from. The Mathesons and the Savards. And if they're going to continue taking the puck and just throwing it off the boards or throwing it right up the middle so that the other team can take over and come in for another quality chance, what can you do as Marty St. Louis to make them stop? Take them out of the lineup? There isn't really that much of a veteran presence on the Canadiens to do that. But you got to pull them aside and say, guys, I need you to lead by example. You got to stop making these dumb fucking mistakes on the ice and start playing like you know how to play. Mike Matheson has the ability to skate the puck right up out of the zone if he wants to. Or he can skate up to the blue line and then give a nice shorter pass to the forwards than they do right now. The defensemen keep looking for these fucking stretch passes that aren't there. And what does it end up doing? Either it goes off a player's stick into the zone and then the opposition takes the puck over, or it goes for icing because they missed the pass. It's never crisp. Why? Because as I mentioned earlier this season, breakouts need to be primarily short passes, 5 to 10 feet apart, so that you're able to come up as a cluster as opposed to these long passes. Is it okay to stretch one player up the ice? Sure. Not all three forwards need to jump the fucking zone. And when the Canadiens do that, you get what happened on Saturday night. You get the other team controlling the middle of the ice, you get the other team controlling everything, and you get the Canadiens playing on their heels the entire night. And it pisses me off because it's not the coaches. They can keep telling them, guys, skate up, pass the puck. Guys, swing into the zone. Guys, this. Repeat, and repeat. But if the players are not doing what you're asking them to do, when is the problem coaching and when is the problem the players? We saw it last week. The Bruins fired Jim Montgomery, and he got scooped up 2 seconds later by the St. Louis Blues. It didn't take long because Montgomery's a good coach. So is Marty St. Louis. They're in the same type of fucking situation, except for at least the Canadiens have half a brain in the GM's position, in Kent Hughes. He's a smart man. Don Sweeney is a garbage general manager who keeps getting defended by Cam Neely. For what reason, I have no clue other than the fact that they used to be teammates. Who cares? I mean, at the end of the day, you want your team to be successful, and it's not all about coaching. You can't turn around and tell me that Montgomery was a problem with the Bruins. The problem with the Bruins is that they don't have any good players other than Brad Marchand on their team right now and David Pasternak. There's nobody else. Nobody's working. They're all just going through the motions. And now they've got an interim coach in place. Do you think anybody's going to want to go into that coaching situation? I hear Mike Babcock and Joel Quenneville are available. So if you want to get somebody easy, ask those two. But nobody in their right mind is going to take on that job as it is right now. I mean, we all talked about Dean Evason taking over the Columbus Blue Jackets, and look at where they are, and look at what he's doing. And Evason's not the greatest coach in the world. He's a bit of a hard ass, a la Mike Babcock and Joel Quenneville. So that's not going to go over well. And Evason is going to be, he's got a short shelf life. Can I see a Gerard Gallant maybe getting behind the bench of the Bruins? Maybe. But by and large, I mean, if Gallant was smart, he wouldn't get into that position unless changes were made. Because, again, he's going to be a scapegoat for the mistakes of the general manager, just like the last three coaches have been for the Bruins. So, getting away from that and looking at the Canadiens, do you really want this team to be in that same position where you're getting rid of the coach to bring in another coach because your problem is actually the players on the ice because they're not playing hockey the way they've learned how to play hockey in the past, and they're making mistakes based on the fact that they're injured or they're uncomfortable on the ice? That's why I'm saying let Patrick Laine feel better. You don't want him making mistakes because his leg is twingy, for lack of a better term. You want him to go out there at 100% and give you the Patrick Laine that you guys expected before that stupid knee from Parry. Okay? And you want to see a Kirby Dach get better. And he's going to get better, but he's still not 100% Kirby Dach. Now, granted, his rehab's over. He's okay, but he needs to catch up, right? And we're just getting to, what is it? How many games in are we again this season? We're right at the 20-game mark for the Canadiens. So this is where it's make or break as far as Kirby Dach is concerned. 20 games should be more than enough to get your speed back in. And now, if Juraj Slavkovsky is not okay, take him out. You've got plenty of guys. Luka Kandata can do what Juraj Slavkovsky is doing right now, but better. Okay? So you take him off the fourth line, you put him on the second or whatever line you want to, and you let Kandata show you what you can do. Or better yet, you give Laval a call and you bring up a Joshua Roy, who's been putting up points galore in the AHL. 3 in the last game. Defensively, Logan Mailloux, as far as I looked, is still in the American Hockey League. Logan Mailloux could still play at the NHL level with a little bit of help. So you want to bring him up to be able to sit another guy down and have him look from the press box? And I'm not talking about a young guy. I'm talking about one of your two veterans. You take David Savard out, you have him watch from up top. Or better yet, take out Mike Matheson, allow Caden Gooley to take over his position as far as the depth chart, and then see what Lane Hutson can do on the first power play unit. It's a win-win for the Canadiens. You're in a rebuild. You're not going to know what you have until you actually put it in place. Okay? So, yeah. Put Hutson out there. Yeah. Bring up Mailloux and bring up Roy and play around with your lineup a little bit because it's not working right now. Players are in their own heads and there's no way to coach that. Right? The only thing that a coach can do when a player is making mental mistakes is ride it out. You could show them as much video as you want. You could drill it at them as much as you want. But the one thing that you do by drilling the same thing over and over again into a player about the mistakes that he's making on the ice is you make them frustrated at themselves. And when they are frustrated at themselves, they grip their stick a little bit tighter and they make more mistakes. A guy like Marty St. Louis, who's been in that position, knows that all too well. So he's not going to put that pressure on the player. He's going to let the player try to get out of it on his own. So let him do his job and stop criticizing Marty St. Louis and let the players get back to the type of hockey that they know. Now, one thing I wanted to mention about players and a comment that was made on Tony Marinero's podcast, the Sick Podcast, was, and I don't do this often, but it really bugged me when Simon Snake Boisvert turned around and said that Lane Hutson is a gadget player. I don't know what kind of hockey you know, Boisvert. And up until last year, I didn't even know who you were as far as the hockey landscape at Montreal was concerned. But let me tell you something about gadget players. Marc-Andre Bergeron was a gadget player. Why? Because it was a power play specialist who had just a slap shot. Lane Hutson is not a gadget player. Lane Hutson is a player who was used primarily in an offensive role to allow his team to be better at the college level. So now he's got to learn to play a little bit more defense at the NHL level. That doesn't make him a gadget player. It makes him a developing player. Gadget players in this day and age don't exist anymore. There's no room for them in the National Hockey League. Role players? Sure. Gadget players? You're not going to give up a roster spot for a guy who's a one-trick pony. And Lane Hutson is not a one-trick pony. Lane Hutson can do more than just play offensively. You just got to give him time to get the timing down, to understand the cadence of the National Hockey League so that he can be comfortable. So until such time as you understand the concept of gadgetry, shut your face. Because Lane Hutson is not a gadget player. And I want you guys to comment. Okay? Whether it's in the chat here on YouTube or whether it's on BlueSky at MTL Hockey Talk or on the Facebook page or Instagram or whatever. I need to hear you guys talk about this gadget player stupidity that came out of Boisvert's mouth. It's not right. And another thing I want to bring up. The Canadiens, up until Friday, had back-to-back wins for the first time. 2 wins back-to-back, looking to get a third in a row. And all of a sudden, the lights went on, and everybody's like, oh, are the Canadiens back in the mix? No, they're not back in the mix. They're in last place. Why ask the question? Do you take us for that stupid as far as a fan base? Or, oh yeah, the Canadiens won 2 games, they're back in the mix. Woo-hoo. No, we don't think that way. We're too intelligent to think that way. So stop treating us like morons and try treating us like the hockey fans that we are. Knowledgeable. Just as knowledgeable as some of the beat writers in this city who want to fish you in with that, oh my God, are the Canadiens back in the mix narrative. And again, I'm going to remind you guys, if you really want to get objective writing in this city, call the Wild, Brian Wild. Best writer in the Canadiens market, bar none. And give a second one to Karen Haynes of the Hockey News. She's been doing a fantastic job as well. Definitely both worth a follow, especially during games. And you should be reading their stuff because it's very intelligent and very thought out. Now, everybody and their mother was asking me last week why the Canadiens saw success last week, even up until the Edmonton game. And you saw it progressively get better and better and better. And why is that? Well, I'll tell you. The key to the Canadiens' success in their defensive zone is controlling the neutral zone. Now, the neutral zone, for all of you, and most of you know this, is the area between the 2 blue lines. Prior to 2004, 2005, when the red line was taken out, the neutral zone trap, as it was called back in the day, was 1 forechecker inside the offensive zone, and then you had 4 guys between the red line and the offensive blue line. And they shifted left or right depending on where the direction the puck went in. Puck pressure to one side, backside defenseman would back off to take the weak side and make sure it was covered, but you had 4 guys shifting over towards the puck. Now, once the red line came out, that actually backed up a little bit, and it was based between blue line to blue line with still 1 forechecker going into the offensive zone. Now, it did create more space like the league wanted so that the puck could get through a little bit more easily, and that depended on whether or not you were flying a guy in between the 4 that were in the neutral zone or whether or not the back checker was coming off and there was more room to skate the puck out of the zone. But overall, controlling the neutral zone in a game does what the Canadiens wanted against the Edmonton Oilers, in the sense that it doesn't allow the opposition team to generate any speed coming out of their own zone. It forces them to relinquish possession of the puck and allows you to pick it up and be able to counterattack the other way. The Canadiens did that to perfection on Monday night. On Saturday, they allowed the Vegas Golden Knights to do the exact same thing to them as they had done to Edmonton. They absolutely took away the neutral zone from the Canadiens, and the Canadiens didn't have an answer. They couldn't get the puck through the middle. They had to chip the puck into the offensive zone and try to chase it down. And given the size of the defense on the Vegas Golden Knights, it was a rather easy job for them, even without Alex Pietrangelo, to be able to get the puck out of the zone. Guys like Shea Theodore, one hit and the puck's going back the other way. So the neutral zone is always the key to the Canadian success. And the biggest part of that is not just offensively, but defensively especially. If the Canadians control the narrative and control the middle of the ice, that neutral zone area, then not only defensively can the puck not get through, but offensively, you can catch the other team on a counterattack rather quickly because you're not backing into your own zone all the time, right? I'd say about 70% of the time when you're controlling the neutral zone, turnovers happen in the neutral zone. And it allows you to kick the puck from one side to the other, so from strong side to weak, to be able to counterattack the other way. And the other team's got to shift their guys over, which opens gaps, right? And allows for what the Canadians did against Edmonton, and that is 3 goals against them, right? And so how does that happen? It's a lot of coaching. Again, it comes back to, the fact that back when Marty St. Louis played for John Tortorella in Tampa Bay, Tortorella had 2 rules for his team: control the neutral zone, block shots. And that's kind of what you're trying to see here from the Canadians. And I think, especially Saturday night against Vegas, that was kind of clear because you had multiple players trying to block the same shot. Well, that shouldn't be the case because once you do that, you lose coverage down low. So what you need to make sure you identify who's going to be the shot blocker in a given situation. So as an example, you're in front of me right now, watching me on the screen. I'm behind you. If you're going to go towards the point and become that shot block option, right, and you're not moving out of the way and you're right there in the shooting lane, then I, as a defenseman who am behind you, should be able to recognize that and cover somebody else, whether it's somebody at the net front, somebody who's a passing option, whatever the case may be. Okay? And especially if the puck's at the point. If the puck's at the point, you have to trust that your goalie is going to be able to make a save from that far out. So if he comes out to the top of the crease and you're the defenseman in fronting, then you should be able to cover something else at the front of the net and allow your goaltender the chance to be able to stop the puck. You can box out guys, you can cover somebody else, and the guy at the point is blocking the shot. If he's not going to be the shot blocker, then yeah, it's up to you to step up a little bit, but do not become a crux to your goaltender. If you're going to block a shot, block the shot. And you used to hear Tortorella say it all the time. If you're going to block the shot, or get out of the freaking way. Players, oftentimes, they don't get out of the way. They stand there and, they try to be goaltender. Legs together, stick out, like this. Like a goaltender would stand, but standing up. And what happens? The puck goes right by their leg. Goaltender picks it up at the last second, and it ends up in the back of the net. Instead, what they should be doing is active sticks in front of you, trying to reach for the puck. If the puck gets passed, well, you sweep it back and forth. It doesn't matter, right? But it's these intelligent plays the Canadians make, not only in their own zone, but in the neutral zone, in having active sticks, in getting in the right lanes, and playing and recognizing what their partners are doing on the ice that brings them success. That's anybody who's taught the neutral zone trap knows that it's a 5-man unit, and it has to be cohesive. The guys have to understand what's going on out there. And it's not one set of 5 guys. It could be any set of defensemen, any set of forwards, whether it's your first line to first line, or whether it's, your top pairing defenseman to your last pairing defenseman. The understanding should be there. It's very straightforward. Okay? And it's as simple as me telling you that, all right, the puck's coming along this side of the ice. Okay? So the first forechecker is going to come and push the puck towards that side of the ice to take away that side. The first forward and support behind that forechecker is going to be in the middle of the ice to cut off the passing lane. The other forward is going to be along the strong side boards where the puck is to provide support to the forechecker so that if he separates the guy from the puck, he's there to pick it up. You're going to have a defenseman on that side as well to provide support, secondary support. And then you're going to have the backside defenseman over on the weak side, not too far, but over on the weak side to be able to take away the long stretch pass. One of them is going to get the puck. And if they don't, it's going to get dumped into the zone, either for icing or your goaltender's going to want to play it, or the weak side defenseman is going to be able to get back and pick up the puck. It's not rocket science, and it goes for both sides, guys. You can go to the left or you can go to the right, but both ways, the F1, the first forward out there, forechecks hard on the puck carrier. The two middle forwards take the middle of the ice and the strong side boards, and then you got a strong side defenseman and your weak side defenseman. So basically you go from being in a straight line to becoming a trapezoid in the neutral zone, right? Depending on the direction of the puck. Okay? If you can understand what I mean. Angles, right? Forechecker, angled, right? Same thing. Forechecker to the other side, angled. And this way you cover the neutral zone 99% of the time. And you force turnovers because the other team can't skate through the neutral zone cleanly. Add active sticks to that, where you're getting the sticks in the passing lanes, and you end up getting possession of the puck faster. Watch the game against the Edmonton Oilers. Watch the game previous to that against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Watch the game even against the Minnesota Wild, and you're going to see they did the same thing, right? Of course, they weren't able to score against the Wild because they're the Wild. The Wild hook, grab, and whatever. But by and large, the 3 goals the Wild scored were lucky. They weren't, they were broken plays. And the Canadiens still did their job right. Against the Columbus Blue Jackets, okay, it's Columbus. They're not the greatest team out there, but neither are we right now. And they controlled the middle of the ice very well. So as long as the Canadiens can continue to control the neutral zone and remain in that sort of pack mentality in the middle of the ice, they're going to find success. They're going to find turnovers. The longer the distance that a Canadiens player has to skate, the less likely they are to be able to get a quality scoring chance. And what I mean by that is, if you're looking to come from their own zone and get a quality scoring chance going in, it has to develop, right? Whereas if you control the neutral zone and there's a turnover, one pass can create an offensive opportunity that you didn't expect. So long as the Canadiens continue to employ that pressure in the neutral zone, they will have success. But it's got to be consistent. It wasn't on Saturday. It was non-existent on Saturday. And that's why the Vegas Golden Knights were able to control the game and control the narrative. And the Canadiens had to get away from their whole game plan. It didn't help, again, that their guys were giving away the puck like I was giving away candy on Halloween. But if they play within themselves and they stop trying to make stupid plays with the puck and they stick to simplicity as far as what they're supposed to do with it, they'll be able to have success. Now, granted, I still want to see originality from our players. I don't want to see them get systemic. And the neutral zone, controlling the neutral zone is not a system. The 1-2-2 is a system. Controlling the neutral zone is a concept, as Marty St. Louis puts it. So, it could be a 1-1-3, still control the neutral zone, or it could be a 1-2-2. It doesn't matter. But the idea is to control that area of the ice. And if you control the area between the two blue lines, 99% of the time you win hockey games. So get away from trying to make those crazy passes, cross-seam passes in your own zone, and stick to clustering. And stick to, keeping the puck on the strong side and not making dumb plays. If you keep the puck on the boards, there are 3 goals you can eliminate from the game on Saturday night. At least 3. But the puck got away from the boards. Why? Because players made bad reads. Kirby Dach was the most egregious of the 3. But by and large, if you make good reads and you make the smart play, it's okay to try it from time to time. But in Kirby Dach's case, when he did it, he turned to his backhand and didn't even look to see where he was passing the puck. He just threw it out there. That's a no-no. I don't care what fucking level you're playing at. Whether you're playing Pee-wee or whether you're playing at the National Hockey League level. So the players need to be smarter. And above all else, the Montreal Canadiens need to control the neutral zone. If they continue to do that, they're going to have a success with the week that's coming up. Now, in talking about the week that's coming up, there's 6 points coming up that are available to the Montreal Canadiens. Tuesday night, you've got Utah, who's coming to the Bell Center, their first visit to the Bell Center. And, being that they're an expansion team and there aren't that many great players on the Utah Hockey Club, it's going to be an interesting dynamic. If the Canadiens can get back, like I said, to controlling the neutral zone and actually being able to counterattack on Utah, they should see some relatively good success. If the Canadiens get away from that game and continue to play stupid hockey and are turnover machines like they were on Saturday night, they're going to find themselves behind the 8 ball again. And there's nothing you can do as far as a coach, as far as a goaltender, as far as a fan to be able to correct that. The players need to be smart. Okay? That's the first thing. Get away from trying to do too much on the ice and simplify the game again. I don't understand why they try to complicate it. I really don't. When your team is playing as poorly as the Canadiens are, the rule of thumb for any player, the rule of thumb for any coach, is to get back to basics. And basics is don't throw the puck in the middle of the ice in your own zone. Duh. And that's what the Canadiens were doing. So get back to what works. Be streamlined on the breakout. Control the middle neutral zone area, and you're going to find success. And that doesn't matter which one of the 3 teams you're playing, whether it's Utah, whether it's Columbus, who we beat just a couple of weeks ago on Saturday 5-1 at home. Now we're going to be playing them in Columbus, or whether it's the Rangers on Saturday. Now, notoriously, the Canadiens have not played well at MSG. That goes without saying. And it depends on whether or not it's Shesterkin in net or whether it's Jonathan Quick. But at the end of the day, both of them were quality goaltenders. The other night, Jonathan Quick did not fare very well on Saturday, but that was no fault of his own. He did muff a couple of goals, and he knew it, but that wasn't for a lack of effort. Jonathan Quick is still a quality goaltender. Shesterkin is a quality goaltender. And the Rangers do have a lot of dangerous tools on their teams. Zibanejad, Kreider. Yes, I know you hate when I mention his fucking name, but he's still there. So Saturday is going to be a mindful game for the Montreal Canadiens where they really have to batten down the hatches against the Rangers. But the 2 games midweek between Utah at home and Columbus on the road, I know they're back-to-back. So it's going to be a tough sell to get those 2 games, but they're both winnable hockey games. So you start Monty on the Tuesday, you start Primo on the Wednesday, and you keep the game simple. Strong side support, 1 guy on the weak side for the stretch pass, come up the ice together in a cluster, and control the neutral zone. You do that, the Canadiens are going to come away with 6 points. I have no doubt. But if they don't do that, then they play like individuals, like they did on Saturday, you're not going to see any success. It's got to be a group effort. Okay, individuals don't win hockey games. Teams do. So let's get back to what worked. If you have to look at the tape from the Edmonton game, do it. Take a look. See what you did to 2 of the best players in the National Hockey League in McDavid and Draisaitl. You stifled them. McDavid barely got any speed through the neutral zone into the Canadian zone. He did it on a couple of occasions. You're not going to blank the guy. But once he did get into the offensive zone, you blanket coveraged the Oilers. And that included McDavid not finding a lot of ice to be able to shoot the puck. Credit the Canadiens for that as a group. Also, when you look at it, right, you did manage to control the neutral zone and create turnovers, which led to the 3 goals. Kudos. Because turnovers happen everywhere on the ice. So you want to generate as many as you can. Control the neutral zone area, you will generate turnovers. Turnovers turn into goals for, not goals against. So let's do it. And the last word for this week's show, it's going to be for you fans. And as I remind you again, subscribe to the show. Make sure you click on the like button and the notification button as well, guys, because I appreciate it. I need the subscriptions. We want to get to, higher, better, bigger and better numbers. So, we're hovering just under 500. By the end of this year, I'd like to get to 1,000. So get the word out. And so my last word on the show is this. We're 3 years into the rebuild. And I know the Canadiens fans are yearning for the playoffs. They're going to come. God knows I want to see the playoffs. I'm tired of regular season hockey. I'm tired of bad regular season hockey. But if you look at other teams that rebuilt recently, the Rangers being one of them, they're I think it's about 7 years out of their rebuild, and they're considered one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. I want to get to that too, but it doesn't happen overnight. And I know that everybody's getting impatient. And I know that, the team telling you that they wanted to be in the mix this year got your hopes up because you thought, oh, they're going to be much better. Okay, granted, that was a mistake on management's part. They should have never said in the mix. We want to see a certain level of improvement, whether they turn around and they say, well, we want to, see a 10 to 20 point improvement this season or whatever the case is. Don't say you want to be in the mix. That's the wrong way to put it. But they did. Can the Canadiens get there? It may be a little late for that, being that we're 20 games in and they're sitting at the bottom of the league. But, we've seen crazier things happen, like with the St. Louis Blues not too long ago, where in January they were near the bottom of the league, and then all of a sudden they're the Stanley Cup champions. Crazier shits happen. So never say never. But let's be realistic. It's not the popular opinion. So in this season of giving, whether it's Thanksgiving for our U.S. fans that are coming up, or whether it's the Christmas season, let's stop with the negativity and take a look at the things from a positive outlook. There are a lot of positives going on with the Canadiens right now. You look at, the young players coming through the system. You look at the core under 24, as came out from TSN last week, that showed the Canadiens are among the strongest teams at that age level in the National Hockey League. Again, that doesn't mean that tomorrow they're going to win a Stanley Cup. It just means that a couple of years down the road, they're going to be a team to contend with. And ultimately, we want it to be a team to contend with for years to come. So the building blocks are there. The farm is getting filled with talent. The pro team is developing, but it takes time. And whether you think it's Marty St. Louis that's going to do it or whether you don't, that's your problem. But the people that are really going to make it happen are the players on the ice. Okay? You didn't see the Rangers give up on Mika Zibanejad, who, after the trade from Ottawa, did not look great in a Rangers uniform, but a couple of 2-3 years down the road from the rebuild's beginning, he became a leader on that team. Chris Kreider started his career, as a 20, 25 goal scorer, and suddenly now he's a perennial 40 scorer. That didn't happen overnight. That took time. The Canadiens are going to get there. Okay, whether you're talking about Cole Caulfield, whether you're talking about better production from Uri Slafkovsky, whether you're talking about better production from Lane Hutson, Caden Gooley, Nick Suzuki, the list goes on and on. They're all young guys out there. We're not talking about veterans. So give them the benefit of the doubt. Let them grow. We made the decision as a fan base to support this team through the rebuild. Through. Not halfway through. Through the entirety of it. So stick to what we talked about as a group. And I'm telling you, a couple of years down the road, guys, we're not going to be talking about what just happened in October and November of 2024 and, we got to get rid of Martin St. Louis. We're going to be talking about the 2026, 2027 Montreal Canadiens being contenders. And ultimately, isn't that what you want long term? That's it for this week. Chin up, guys. We're going to get there. And hopefully by next Sunday, 6 points to the better. Bye for now.